Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca Escott and today we're going to be working with a Cricut removable vinyl that I'm going to use for this black and white vintage theme for this tumbler today. Now I am using a sublimated tumbler, so I've already sanded off the glossiness and given myself a rim for when we go to epoxy. I'm also going to be using AB Designs Pirate, which is a beautiful metallic black. I'm going to place this vinyl like I always do, but I'm going to go about an inch over that rim so that I can trim that off later. You'll notice that I'm pretty much covering the tumbler about 75% of the way because I really wanted as much of this vinyl showing and a little less of the glitter. So as I continue to wrap this around the tumbler, I really did not find this to be very difficult to work with at all. But as with any vinyl, you want to make sure once you have it placed, you don't have any wrinkles and any air pockets. But if you get some air pockets, we can always take our weeding pen and pop those out once we've had this wrapped. If you come to a point like I did where it was slightly not even, as I just pointed out, it's not a big deal. We're going to go ahead and cut off this excess remaining. I'm going to tape up that bottom and trim it up. It really wasn't necessary, to be honest, because I'm going to do the spray paint glitter method. So you wouldn't have been able to see that anyhow. However, for tutorial purposes, I wanted to show you just how simple this is and to even out your line. So here you'll notice that I'm just going to place the painter's tape along the edge of the highest part of the vinyl, if that makes sense. This way we can trim off where it's not even. You might have also noticed that off camera I did go ahead and use my X-Acto knife to trim the rim. Once I have this completely taped off, I'm going to go ahead and use the parchment paper to protect my vinyl at this point so I can spray paint the bottom and then glitter. You want to wrap this up nice and tight, or you can use saran wrap. Now is where I'm going to go ahead and trim off this excess vinyl. Okay, so typically you want to use a spray paint that is as close to the color in which you're using. But I'm out of black, so I used the deepest blue that I had. As you can see, it absolutely worked perfectly. Here I'm just going to make sure that I get the whole thing nice and glittered, and I'm happy with my coverage. Once I'm happy with my glitter coverage, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape and the parchment paper, allow this to completely dry, and then I'm going to seal it with the clear seal from Rust-Oleum. Once that's dry, we can move right into our epoxy.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down.
So this is the clear seal from Rust-Oleum that I used. I have a tendency to over seal only so that it does not contaminate my vinyl or another glitter cover when I get ready to epoxy. For this coat of epoxy, I am going to be using Fast Set from Cricut DIY. And as always, do not forget to use your heat torch to pop any bubbles that you may or may not be able to see. So now we're ready to go ahead and do our design phase. You'll notice that I've already cut out a black and white vinyl stripe. Everyone knows how obsessed I am with nail tape, but I really wanted these stripes here at the bottom to be slightly wider than 3 millimeters. So for this particular design, the white stripe is 9.958 in width by 0.27 in height. The black stripe is also 9.958 in width but it's 0.156 in height. I just thought for this particular design that I wanted it to be a little bit wider and really bring attention to that seam. Once I get this matched up on the other side, I'm just going to use my scissors and cut me a nice straight line. When I go to apply the black stripe, I just try to center it as much as possible right over the white.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be.
So once I go ahead and snip off the black, I'm going to go ahead and keep my finger there and spin this tumbler around so that I know exactly where the back is. And this is where I'm going to place the word blessed. This was an offset that I had to kind of manipulate within Design Space because this word and this design can be found within Cricut Design Space. And as I'm getting ready to place the word blessed in the vinyl cuts, please make note of the black glitter at the bottom. I want you to really focus in on that because I didn't sand because I did a thin coat of epoxy the first time. When we get ready for this next coat of epoxy, you're going to really see that that really smooths out. Once we're satisfied with the placement of our word, we're going to go ahead and remove the transfer sheet off of the saying, off of the tumbler. This tumbler does not need to be sealed and it's ready for another coat of epoxy. So for this coat of epoxy, I am using Fast Set from Counterculture DIY. This tumbler only took one more final coat, which I used the Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY. And remember when I mentioned to dial in and tune in and pay attention to the black glitter at the bottom? You can see how it's really starting to smooth out and it did not need to be sanded. I want to thank you so much for watching and be sure to find me on TikTok under Rebecca Escott, Facebook at Everything Tumbler Tutorials for continued learning. Remember, all links will be down in the description for you guys below. And as always, make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles you may or may not be able to see.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. Run away, I don't have to plan it. I can go change my fate, you won't understand it.